Papa CJ, he's back at the Aspire Hangar, and how? He's an award-winning, world-renowned international stand-up comedian. A Harvard Business Review called him one of the most influential comedians around the world. He holds an MBA degree from the University of Oxford and is an experienced motivational speaker. He has been invited to speak at the Harvard University and at the University of Oxford. As a corporate coach, he has trained over 50 blue-chip companies globally. He consults brands on concepts and content strategy. Under his initiative, the Papa CJ Happiness Project, he performs in support of charitable causes across the world, making sure that you go back home with a lot of memories and happy memories at the Times Litfest Bengaluru 2020. Please put your hands together for the final act at this SBI hangar, Papa CJ.
Thanks, guys. Before I start, there's one person who's been working at this venue all day, standing on the side, sometimes coming up. Can we have a huge round of applause for Vandana, who's been introducing everyone? I'll be honest, as comedians, we pay a lot of attention to the person who brings us on to stage. Because recently I was in Singapore, and the show I was doing was hosted by a Pakistani stand-up comedian. So this guy got on stage, warmed up the audience, and he invited me onto stage. In that second, I realized I had been a part of history. It was the first time I had seen a Pakistani invite an Indian to occupy a piece of land that he was occupying before. And has anyone here been to Singapore? Give me a cheer if you've been to Singapore. So all you guys have been, you will know this, nothing ever happens in Singapore. The last time I went there, front page of the newspaper, there was a pig on the street. Boss, if there is a pig on the street, in Singapore, it becomes headline news. In Germany, it becomes a sausage. Right? In America, it becomes the President of the United States of America. Right? Huh? Right? Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, that Singapore show, so I've noticed you have a child over here. If she can listen to some words and repeat them, at some point you may want to cover her ears. Just an advance warning, you have been warned. Also, is anyone here sitting next to their parents or their children? If you are, now might be a good time for you to change places. I'm giving you the option because at some point you might feel like you're sitting at home and watching a movie and one of those scenes comes. Right? Whereas you're both loving it, but you can't love it next to each other. So it might get a bit awkward. And I'll be honest, that Singapore show, we had a very drunken night, finished at 5:30 in the morning. Next morning, I'm catching a flight to Kuala Lumpur. I get to the airport. In my hangover, I lost my boarding pass. I went to the woman at the counter. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am. I've lost my boarding pass. Can you give me a fresh one? This woman started shouting at me. How can you be so careless? How can you lose your boarding pass? I said, excuse me. You work for Malaysian Airlines. Yeah. You lost an entire fucking plane, all right? Then from there, I went to Seoul. I went to Korea. Has anyone been to Seoul? Anyone been to Korea? Anybody at all? You have, sir? The last time you went there, how many days did you go for? 4 days. In those 4 days, sir, did you ever go to the toilet? Yeah? Because one of the most amazing things about Seoul, about Korea, are the toilets. I don't know if you saw this, sir, because you sit on the pot, and right next to the pot is a keyboard. It's a fucking computer. They have this in Japan as well. Did you see this, sir? Yeah. It is. And I thought to myself, I've got to try this. So I press this button. This jet comes from the back and hits me right in the sweet spot. In that second, I thought to myself, South Korea should have declared war on North Korea. They should have sent a missile towards Kim Jong-un. Because if a toilet can find an asshole with such pinpoint accuracy, can you give yourselves a round of applause for getting that joke? Because when I cracked that joke in Gurgaon, it's like, eeeew. Then I went to America under the Trump administration. Can you give me a little bit more bass, bro? Thanks. Then I went to India, to America under the Trump administration. I made the mistake of having a beard. I get to immigration. The officer looks at my passport, looks at my beard. He says, you know what? You Indians, you're a mistake. In fact, India is a mistake. I said, come on, officer. As an American, you should be grateful to us. He said, why? I said, well, Because when Christopher Columbus discovered America, he was looking for India. So to be perfectly honest, you are the fucking mistake. Yeah. I mean, technically that makes America the bastard child of India. I'd actually gone to the US. I was doing this TV show called Last Comic Standing. Give me a cheer if you've heard of it. Massive reality show, 3,000 contestants. I was representing India. And what I found really amusing was how excited all the American comedians were. Oh my God, oh my God. 10 million people watch this program. I was like, dude, I come from India. If I open my bathroom window, 10 million people will show up live. Huh? And I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of reality TV. I got caught into it when I was living in London. Do you remember the Shilpa Shetty had gone there? There was this program called Big Brother. This huge racist episode happened. Now, I was living in London, and people kept asking me, who is an Indian? Has an Indian? What do you think? I said, boss, in India, 1 billion people know that Shilpa is definitely going to win. Which she did. Because think about it. How would you win that show? Anyone? Voting. How would you vote? You call in. Who the fuck do you think is answering those phone calls? Call centers in Gurgaon. I'd like to vote for Jade, please. Shilpa, panchod. I did a show at the embassy. This guy came up to me afterwards. He said, John Smith, ambassador. I said, Papa, CJ Maruti esteem. Don't clap at that joke. That is a very cheap joke. Then, of course, I came back to India. And I think in many ways, India is quite a fantastic country. We have our problems, but we have some phenomenal things as well. I mean, we had Formula One racing in India. Any fans of Formula One racing? Give me a cheer. You're a fan, sir? Did you watch the race in Delhi? No? Anyone saw the race in Delhi? You did, so what do you think? Good or bad? Good? I was deeply disappointed. Deeply disappointed. Let me tell you why. Because this was Formula One racing in the Delhi region. I wanted to see Formula One racing Delhi style. Right? Forget that. I wanted to see a one-on-one race, Michael Schumacher versus Delhi driver. Right? Just imagine this race. Pole position, Michael Schumacher in Formula One car. Number 2 position, call center driver from Gurgaon in Tavera. Right? Right? All the lights are red saying, relax. Tavera's already rolled down the window saying, kya bhai, risk karega venture. All the lights become yellow. Schumacher is waiting to go. This guy is already fucked off. This is Delhi boss. Nobody waits at a yellow light. Comes to the first turn, puts his hand out to the window, goes the other way. Schumacher catches up with him. The road splits up into 2 parts. Pakka rasta and kacha rasta. Schumacher goes down the pakka rasta. Tavera goes down the kacha rasta. 2 minutes later, Michael Schumacher has to turn around and come back. Why has he turned around and come back? Because there's metro construction happening. Comes to the pit lane, finds there's a no entry sign. Tavera goes straight through. While Schumacher is getting petrol, somebody selling him magazines, there are children dancing in the middle of the road. Meanwhile, Tavera's gone to some market, whistles at a girl, and he comes back. Right? Again, Schumacher catches up with him. Again, the road splits up into 2 parts. Pakka rasta and kacha rasta. This time, Schumacher goes down the kacha rasta. Last time, he got screwed when he went down the pakka rasta. Crosses the finishing line. He's like, yes, yes, I won. Get to the podium, Michael Schumacher disqualified. He says, Arey, but why? Sir, today is odd number day, you have even number plate. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a bit of the stand-up element at the top. Now, I know we're supposed to do big book stuff. I was told this morning, that I'm supposed to be doing a book launch. Now, these book launch things are very weird. I have done about 4 or 5 festivals, literature festivals so far. And you know, this is like the kind of guy who goes to stay in a hotel, and every week when he goes to the hotel, he tells those guys, yaar, aaj mera birthday hai. Mere ko cake chahiye. So apparently, I'm doing my book launch again. But if we have 2 people in the audience, then we will do it. Rahul, are you here? Is Rahul Ram here? Or has he already gone? Is Varun Grover here? He has also gone. Okay, we are not doing a book launch anymore. So what I'm going to do is, because this is a book event, I can go on doing stand-up for a while. But the upside is that my book is based on a show. So I'm going to tell you little stories from the book. And hopefully you will like them enough to go and actually pick up a copy. Are we good with that? Come on, guys. Are we good with that? Yeah. Wonderful. So story number 1. What should we start with? Okay. So a very important aspect for me was I wanted to... See, I'm not a big reader, to be honest. I have written more books than I have read. Right? And I have written 1 book. Right? So if you're not a big reader as well, this book is for people like you and me. Right? There's no complicated long words. You will not need a dictionary like you will need for anything that Tharu writes. Right? And I want it to be very relatable for you. So for example, some of the stories in here. I grew up in a middle class family. Anyone else here grown up middle class? Give me a chair if you have. So you will know this. We all grew up with a similar set of values. The greatest value out of all these values was value for money. So for example, cheer if you grew up in a house like this. I grew up in a house where shampoo never finished. Right? It just magically became thinner over time. Right? I grew up in a house where the bottle that had tomato sauce eventually had tomato soup. Right? I noticed this guy's on his phone. What are you doing on your phone? Are you messaging someone? What happened?
I was getting a call, sir.
You're getting a call. Next time you get a call, answer it. I will speak to the person. By the way, spam call, even more fun. I will answer it. This is what I don't understand. This is the one thing I have to tell you that I hate about performing on stage, because nowadays you get on stage, people come over there, and before you know it, the mobile phones come up like that. Right? For the guys who've got their phones up, hi Rahul. We will do the book launch now in 2 minutes. The mobile phones come up, and I'll be honest with you, stand-up comedy is a bit like sex. Right? It's best enjoyed live, not in front of a screen. There is no substitute for actually being there. So if you're doing this on your phone, you're surfing comedy porn. Right? So this is the thing, right? These guys are always on their phones. You take photographs on your phone. What is your name? Yeah, you take photographs on your phone? Yeah, you do. This is the thing. We didn't have this luxury. We didn't have mobile phones. We had film rolls. Give me a cheer if you remember film rolls. Exactly. If you came from a rich family, you got a roll of 36. If you came from a middle class family, you got a roll of 24. Right? Remember we had those cameras where those numbers would go past 1, 2, 3, 4. Jayant, even after we got to 24, we would take a chance. Sometimes you got that one extra photograph. It was like winning the fucking lottery. Nowadays, these guys, let me check the age groups in the room. People in your 20s and below. 20s and below, give me a cheer. Okay, a few people. 30s, give me a cheer. Not sounding as happy as the people in their 20s. It's going downhill. 40s, give me a cheer. This is just peer pressure, right? 50s, give me a cheer. Okay, the kids have left home. You're happy fuckers. 60 and above, don't cheer, just breathe, madam. Nowadays, these young guys, they're surfing porn on their phones. Sir, you didn't have this luxury, right? For you, it must have been like hieroglyphics, right? For us in the 90s, we couldn't surf porn. The internet had just come. We didn't have those download speeds. You couldn't download a video. At best, you've got a photograph. And I still remember how they used to load. First, you had the hair. Then you had the eyes. Then you had the nose. By this point, 18 minutes have gone. My friend is getting warmed up. Right? From the side, you can hear that modem going cree-croo, cree-croo. Till today, when I hear the sound of a modem, I get turned on. Right? There is a wonderful gentleman who is in the room already. Can we have a huge round of applause and welcome on the stage the wonderful Rahul Ram. Can we get one of those books up from there? Just the one. I don't know if Varun is here as well. He is a performer who I have admired for many, many years, listening to his work. And I could not think of anybody better to come and launch the book yet again. So Rahul, thank you so much. If you can just tear this apart. हाँ खोल दे फाड़ दे यार अभी तो स्टेज पे जाके वैसे भी तुम फाड़ोगे तो यहीं भी फाड़ हाँ so now we're gonna हाँ फेंक भी दो यार come should we both pose for this for a photograph oh now again sir one more clap yeah guys come on Rahul thank you so much I'll take thanks हाँ ले जाओ उतना तो होगा ना marketing budget में पूछ रहे हैं okay so next stories I'm going to tell you a little bit about my mom and dad my biggest heroes so my father used to work for a tea company and he worked for the same tea company for 35 years he was in the tea gardens for 10 years then we moved to Calcutta and he was in charge of marketing so to give you a feel for the kind of guy he was His job was to get retailers to stock his brand of tea, which is called Goodricks. He hired an army of housewives. Their job for 3 weeks was to keep going from shop to shop at random times of the day, asking them, कि Goodrick की चाय है? The second that guy said, नहीं madam, आप Tata tea ले लो. He said, नहीं, जब Goodrick आएगा तब हम ले लेंगे. Now imagine the shopkeeper sitting in the shop for 3 weeks. Random housewives are coming and asking only for Goodrick tea. Sure enough, 3 weeks later, my father sends a salesman from his office saying, would you like to stock Goodrick tea? What do you think happened? Huh? One of these days, I'm going to do the same thing and call event companies saying, I want to book Papa CJ. And just get them to call me. So I will pretend to be the client, tell them this is what my budget is. Call the event companies, Rahul, good idea, huh? And see if they call me and what actual budget they quote. My mom, at the age of 6, was summoned to school. I was in class 2, she was summoned to school because her son had been using foul language. So she was called into this class. Ma'am John was sitting there, very strict lady. She said, my mom said, what's the problem? She said, well, your son has been using foul language. So mom said, what did he say? She said, I said I was going to give a test on Monday, and he said, oh shit. So my mom looked her straight in the eye and said, oh shit, did he say that? My mother was never summoned to school again. From there, I went to a boarding school called the Lawrence School, Sanar, which is in Himachal. And like every school, we had a bunch of crazy teachers. We had one teacher called Mr. Sibble. Now, he was quite a spaced out guy. So we used to call him Zap. One day, he had taken his wife to Chandigarh for a dental appointment. These 4 Sardars from Nilgiri house broke into his house, ate all his food, stole one CD, Bryan Adams CD, and went away feeling very happy, boss, we have gotten away with it. Mr. Sibble comes back, very upset. His house has been broken into. But it turns out that Zap wasn't as spaced out as we thought he was. The following Monday, he sets an essay writing competition for the whole school. The title of the essay is The Mystery of the Robbery at Mr. Sibble's House. All these 4 Sards wrote exactly the same story. Right? They just changed the names. Oh, we went in through the ventilator, this happened, this happened. Of course, they got caught and got a hammering. I asked one of these guys afterwards, I said, Sadi, why did he write the truth? He said, brother, I thought we'll get full marks. Okay, we've got to the book. So then college. Now, college life is a little bit about romance, right? So I was in college in the 90s, and that was an age of romance. Where are the people in their 20s? 20s, give me a cheer again, 20s? You're in your 20s, bro? Okay, come here, what is your name? Yeah, what's your name? What's your name?
Abhinav.
Abhinav, do you have a girlfriend?
Kind of.
Kind of. Are you not sure yet?
She isn't sure.
Oh, so here's a question for you, Abhinav. How long have you, how long have you not been dating? How long have you been pursuing her?
It's been almost a year now.
A year? She's not fucking worth it, man. One hole. Okay. Where is she?
She is.
Oh, where is she now? Is she here?
No,
She's here. Oh my God, no wonder so confidently said, yeah, she's worth it. So Abhinav, let me ask you this. In the last year that you have been pursuing her, what is the most romantic thing that you have ever done for her?
As you said that you went to college in your 90s, and we had the same. We had the old school romance among us, so we used to write postcards to each other every month. We continue that for 12 months. So I have 12 postcards, she has 12 postcards.
Good? That's not bad, dude. In this generation, who the fuck writes? Give the guy a round of applause. Well done. That's pretty good because, you know, sometimes I struggle to understand romance in this generation. Like in our time, we did have romance, slightly different to yours. Like the smallest things were flowers or chocolates. If you were Bengali, you would write her a poem. Right? If you were Punjabi, you would go to Hallmark, copy it down and then give it to her. Right? If you were Marwadi, you would check the price of the card first. Right? But Abhinav, by far the most romantic thing you could ever do for a woman in our generation was to give her a mixtape. A compilation tape. Give me a cheer if you're familiar with this. You see, Abhinav, in our generation, we had something called an audio cassette. And giving a girl a mixtape was by far the greatest show of commitment ever. Right? It's not like now you drag 3 files and give her a USB. You had to call all your friends. You had to find out all the songs that she loved. And Abhinav, calling your friends wasn't easy either, because we didn't have mobile phones like you. We had dial-up phones. Remember dial-up phones? Yeah, if you came from a middle-class family like I did, your mother put a lock on that phone. Not a passcode, a physical fucking tala. So you had to wait until you went and played with your friends. But when you asked them for those songs, you lost your self-respect. Imagine a macho 19-year-old guy going to his male friends and saying, "Hey bro, do you have Nothing's Going to Change My Love for You"? Exactly, they laughed. And the worst part was each of them had that song. Right? But they just couldn't admit it. But at least we had songs that allowed us to express love. Nothing is going to change my love for you. You are the wind beneath my wings. Words are all I have. I mean, what the fuck do you have? Right? I mean, I heard a song the other day by Eminem. Tell me if you've heard this song. These are the lyrics. I ain't never seen an ass like that. Has anyone heard this song? Yeah, you listen to this shit. So these are the words. I ain't never seen an ass like that. The way she shakes it makes my pee-pee go doing, doing, doing. If my dad ever gave my mom a song that said, I ain't never seen an ass like that, she would smack him so hard, his pee-pee would never go doing, doing, doing. We had to call all our friends. We had to find out all the songs that she loved. If your romance was like this, once a month postcards, you would get her a 60-minute tape. I got my woman a 90-minute tape. Yeah, you hear that, Abhinav? Because in our generation, size did matter. You had to time those songs. You had to make sure you had exactly 45 minutes on each side, because a gap in the tape was a gap in commitment. If you had a tape recorder where the rewind button didn't work, you would have to turn it around, fast forward it, turn it around, and hope as hell you were in the right place. If you had a tape recorder like I did, where the rewind and the fast forward buttons didn't work, what would you do? Anyone? Exactly, Jayant. In our generation, we had something called a pencil. Right? It was used for an activity called writing. We would take that pencil, stick it in that tape, turn it around, and feel like fucking ninjas. See, Abhinav, there were advantages of giving a girl a mixtape. Right? Like I said, not like now, drag 3 files and give her a USB. Because we had those 2-in-1 recorders, remember? The pause and the play button on one side, the play and the record button on the other side. You have to stop every time. After every song, you make a little mark with a pencil. Abhinav, when you gave a girl a mixtape, she knew that you knew how to use your fingers in a coordinated fashion. I don't know if a postcard will convey that. All I'm saying is, when we went out to have a good time. Nowadays, people go out to take photographs of themselves looking like they're having a good time. Right? You can be at the most boring party ever. 5 guys will get together, take this photograph, stick it up on Facebook, saying, oh my God! Sorry, OMG. Right? Last night was epic. I do not understand the use of the phrase epic. The Ramayana was an epic. The Mahabharata was an epic. You going out and getting passed out in a pool of your own piss is not epic. So this is the hashtag generation. Ma'am, your time's no tags, right? Just hash. What else can I tell you? So I eventually finished college here, applied for an MBA degree, University of Oxford. Somehow they made a mistake, I got in. I'll be honest with you, they're not putting me on the brochure. Right? They don't say, come spend 40,000 pounds on an Oxford MBA, you can be a stand-up comedian one day. Took me 3 or 4 years, paid back all my loans, joined a consulting firm in London. And then I took a year off, and I went to the Edinburgh Festival. And I saw people doing stand-up comedy for the first time. I thought this was the most amazing thing in the world. I mean, here's a guy on stage with a microphone in a hand, a drink in the other. He's just having fun and fucking around. That's his job. And I thought, I've got to do this. And the fact is, when I started doing it, I was actually debating between doing a bartending course and getting into stand-up comedy. But that bartending course that I looked at, they only taught us how to mix the drinks. They didn't teach us how to juggle the glasses. Now, let me ask the women here. Give me a cheer if you think it's cool when they juggle the glasses. Yes? Exactly, that's what I thought. I thought if I can't juggle the glasses, I'm never going to get laid. That's why I got into stand-up comedy. And Abhinav, that was 15 years ago. And in the last 15 years, I can't tell you how many times. How many times I wish I had taken that bartending course. Now, this is also when I started doing stand-up. That's also when I took on the name Papa CJ. Right? Now, I know that's the most common question I get asked in any interview. What is the name Papa CJ? What does it mean? The answer is lying in the book. So if you want the answer, it'll be in the book. But I'll tell you why I don't tell people what my name is. Because, and every time I'm asked this question, I try to make up the most bullshit answer. Like once, in a newspaper that I shall not name at this event, I told them that I was born in the Vatican City, where it is customary to name a child after his or her physical characteristics. So Papa is the literal translation of the Latin word massivus, and CJ is the literal translation of the Latin word genitalius. The fuckers printed it! But the reason I don't like telling people my name is that I find that in our country, the second you tell them your name, oh, Marwadi, oh, Gujarati, oh, Punjab, and they've put you in a box. Now, I don't want to be put in that box. Right? I believe in this wonderful saying that I read in a Buddhist monastery. It says your behavior is your only introduction. So that's how I would like it to be, and which is why I never reveal my real name, but you will find out if you read the book. Let me tell you a little bit more about the stand-up journey. I remember, so I've been called CJ since I was 16. So at this point in life, I had done this MBA degree, got this job, taken a sabbatical, started doing stand-up. I was dating this girl who I'd been seeing for 8 years. So got her to study in the UK as well. She managed to get a job. We moved into a house together. And you know how it is when, as a couple, when you're struggling to build a foundation for your lives, you really stick together as a couple, right? You want to make things work against the odds. But sometimes, when life gets better, that pressure to stick together isn't there. You lose sight of the bigger picture, and you start fighting over little things. And that's what started happening to us. And I thought to myself at that point that, maybe we should take a little time apart. Because Abhinav, he's already disappeared to write another postcard. Because as you will know that for a woman, and I knew this is a broad generalization, but I knew this for my woman, a relationship needs to go somewhere. For men, we can stay in limbo land forever. So I thought maybe we should take some time apart. Either we will find out that we were fighting over stupid things, or we will find out that it was never meant to be. As it turns out, I figured out that we were fighting over stupid things. And she figured out that it was never meant to be. I can't tell you what a difficult year this was for me. I had started dating her when I was 20 years old. I had been seeing her for 8 years. I had every single sign of clinical depression. I locked myself into a house. I was on a bottle of whiskey a day. And it feels like your heart has broken up into a million pieces. And it takes you years to pull it back together again. But somehow when you pull it back together, your heart doesn't feel whole again. There were certain pieces that were missing. And those were pieces that I didn't even want back. They would always belong to her. And I remember in the middle of this depression, I don't know how many whiskeys down, I wrote a poem. And I'm going to share that with you. It's in the book. I always believed that she would come back. It's called Pieces of My Heart. The warmth of your body against mine. The smell of your hair, your skin, your head on my chest. The way you wear your sari. The kajal in your eyes, your beautiful, beautiful eyes. The unfinished cup of tea, the way you fall asleep on the sofa, the way you bump your head, the weak ankle, the hurting ear, your fears, your vulnerabilities, every little imperfection that I love you for. Your first day of college, applying for jobs, that job offer, shopping for that working suit, your first paycheck, your first raise. I grew up with you. I still sleep on my side of the bed because you will be back. I know. For it is meant to be. And one day when the sun rises and I open my eyes, you will be right there, next to me, in your place. And I will watch you sleep again, and kiss your forehead, and hold your drowsy body in my arms as you slumber into the sleep of my dreams. You know, that was the year that I started doing stand-up comedy. Now, I don't know if it was a passion, an obsession, an escape, or just a crutch. But it was the only thing that I had. Every single day, I would wake up at about 10:30, 11 in the morning. I would cook one meal for myself at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. At 4 in the afternoon, I would get to some comedian's car, and we would drive to some city in the UK. I was nervous, I wouldn't eat. If they weren't giving us free food as a new comic, which sometimes they didn't, I didn't really have a lot of money. I would do between 5 and 10 minutes, 10 minutes max. Sometimes 300 people had showed up. Sometimes the university had exams, there were 3 people in the audience. I would get dropped off in the outskirts of London at 2:30 in the morning. I would pay the driver my share of petrol. I wasn't getting paid for any of these gigs. I would change 3 different buses, taking between 2 and 3 hours to get home, sometimes waiting for 45 minutes in cold London winter. I did this every single day for an entire year. At the end of that year, I had no money, no friends, no relationships, and no life. But every single comedy promoter in the country knew my name. CJ was dead, and Papa CJ was born. So these are some bits that I wanted to share with you, which are parts of the book. It's not all funny. There's a story as well. I think for now, can we open it up to audience Q&A? Let's talk about any questions you have, whether about the story, about stand-up comedy, about anything you like. So just put your hand up. Let us know what your name is, and we'll do a bit of a Q&A. There's a gentleman in the front here. The guy who went to Korea for 4 days. And they purposely do that to you. First, I mean this, and then they give you a microphone that doesn't work. What the fuck? You got it? Here, take this one, sir. Is that one? Okay.
I'll not ask you the Korea question again.
Okay.
Which of the, any world famous personality, even the politician,
Yeah.
anyone whom you think, if you just think of him, you start laughing. And you don't have to work too hard to, make a comedy on
Not
it.
difficult, sir. I mean, Donald Trump, Lalu Prasad Yadav, we had them everywhere in the world, yeah? That's not really complicated. So that's not a complex question. Anybody else?
Here, Papa. I don't have a question. I just want to tell you
Abhinav,
that
don't say here, Papa. Then I'll have to send regards to your mum. You don't have a question. You're saying in the last 45 minutes, you've got a message from her and things are working out?
No, I just want to tell you after your poem that she is worth as well.
That she's?
Worth as well.
She's worth it as well.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. I know you're saying it because she's somewhere here listening. Well played, brother. Well played. Yeah. Anybody else? This gentleman here. And we'll come to the 2 ladies at the back there as well.
In your book, the chapter is humility by rotation. That is
Yes.
about the raggings of seniors and did your school stories.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand how it is humility by rotation.
Okay, so
exactly.
I'll explain. So there's a chapter called Humility by Rotation. And basically the idea behind it is that from junior school, you go to the junior most in junior school to the senior most. Suddenly you think I'm a dude. Then you become the junior most in senior school and you get hammered. Then again you become the senior most. Then you go to college and you get hammered. Right? Again, so basically the idea behind it is that in life, the second you think, boss, I am so fantastic, life will fuck you. So try and stay humble because in rotation, tera time aayega, teri bajegi, boss. So that's the idea behind the name of the chapter, Humility by Rotation.
right? You become boyfriend, you think, boss, I've got the whole thing happening, worked out, Abhinav will feel very happy. Then you get married, tab pata chalega, sale. Yeah.
Yeah, good
One
evening.
second, the lady at the back there, then there was another lady there, then we'll come to you. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Good evening. My name is Geeta. I heard your story.
Did you say Geeta?
Geeta.
Geeta.
Yeah.
Tell me, Geeta.
I heard your story. We have always seen the funny side of, like, your funny side, and today you shared your personal story about your depression and that 1 year. Can you tell me how come, like, you were going through the rough patch and suddenly...
Hey, kahan ja rahe ho?
making-
Susu. Sorry.
shifting to comedy, making people laugh when you were not going through the good things?
So here's the thing, ma'am. They say that, were you there for was anyone here for the 3 o'clock session? So I'll repeat a small part of it. They say that comedy, please have a seat, Geeta ji. They say that comedy is tragedy plus time, right? What often people have this misconception, or they think that comedians are the sad people who are crying in the rain, all of that stuff. We operate in a very interesting profession. It has no rules, no boundaries, no guidelines, no social norms, no bits of you can say this, you can't say this. So it's an incredible journey of self-discovery. You see, when we start performing, we will go for the easy joke. We want the confidence that we can make people laugh. So the kind of joke I have cracked many times in the past. As somebody who lives in Delhi, we don't understand the language they speak in Bombay. You know, we call it bread, they call it pav. We call it pyaz, they call it kanda. We call it a servant quarter, they call it a 2 BHK. Right? So this one, don't clap like this. If you're going to clap, clap properly, okay? So this one I know they're going to laugh at. Then what happens is we do observational comedy, which continues throughout our lifespan. So just like you see the world, comedians also see the world, but we look at it slightly differently. So one of the jokes, for example, I've cracked. Anyone here who wears glasses and has ever flown Kingfisher business class? Anybody at all? Let me tell you what used to happen on the flight. If you were wearing glasses and you flew Kingfisher business class, an air hostess would come and offer to clean your glasses. Yes, that was the level of service. Except, sir, I did not know this. I'm sitting on this business class seat. This gorgeous air hostess walks up towards me with a tissue in her hand. You're already clapping, sir. She said, sir, would you like me to clean your spectacles? Exactly. Cabin pressure, I did not hear the word spectacles. Pretty embarrassing when you're standing in business class with your pants around your ankles saying, give me the Kingfisher experience. Then what happens is, as you evolve, you want to be seen as an edgy comedian, right? You want to be seen as cool. So you will do the kind of jokes, you will pick on positions of authority, you will use bad language, shock comedy. You will do the kind of jokes that make you feel intelligent, right? So for example, I'll tell you the kind of jokes I would do. So I grew up in Calcutta. Anyone grown up in Calcutta? A few people here. For the others, if you want to know what Calcutta was like in the early 1980s, you can go there tomorrow. Right? I mean, I learned how to drive in Calcutta. I remember taking driving lessons in London. This instructor asked me, he says, why don't you Indians drive in a straight line? I said, listen, I am from Calcutta. In England, you drive on the left of the road. In Calcutta, we drive on what is left of the road. Right? But the joke I wanted to tell you was this. We had a Bengali president, Pranab Mukherjee. Any fans of Pranab? Give me a cheer. A few people? Okay, give me a cheer if you think that Abdul Kalam was the coolest president ever. I agree with you completely, but let me tell you why. Because he was president of India the same time that George Bush was the president of the United States of America. He could have walked into the US, gone up to anyone, and said, you know what, your president is a dumb fuck. If anyone turned around and said, who do you think you are, rocket scientist? So see, now that's a joke that makes me feel intelligent, right? Because there's a pause and then you're like, fuck yeah, he was a rocket scientist. Eventually what happens, in a field like ours where there are no boundaries, the journey is inward, right? You have to ask yourself, what are the things that matter to me? What do I genuinely feel about things? And eventually you don't even care about the audience. Your audience will find you. The people who don't like you will automatically weed themselves out. This is one of the reasons in any interview that I'm asked in this country, who's your favorite comedian in India? My answer is always Varun Grover. Because for as long as I have seen him, he is the most authentic comedian I have seen. He's like, boss, ये मैं हूँ, ये मेरी सोच है, ये मेरी सच है. तुम्हें पसंद है, ठीक है, नहीं पसंद है, फिर भी ठीक है. So I think the journey for us, firstly, is it's a journey towards authenticity. You know, like they say, it takes you 10 years to find your voice in comedy. Then what happens is, we get comfortable with our own vulnerability and with our own pain. And we are able to find the funny in it, right? So if you've ever seen my show Naked, it talks about, and it's there in the book as well, there are a lot more things that it talks about. And because we are able to find the funny in it, firstly, we are the only people who are talking about our vulnerability publicly. So people are thinking, my God, this guy is depressed or he's going through all this stuff. But when audiences see that, they see a person on stage who has suffered through a lot of pain and is able to laugh at it. So Geeta, what a lot of audiences do, they are able to find catharsis in that, saying, boss, if this guy can laugh in his pain, mere ko kya problem? What is my problem? So that is the long answer to your question, that it's a journey that we go through. And most comedians, when we look at our past work, we are deeply embarrassed because we also evolve over time, right? And over time, as the society evolves and we evolve, we also know those things that I used to say are not okay to say. But so it's a process of evolution for us and for our audiences. As they evolve, they demand better as well. But we talk about our pain because humor is the only way we know how to process it, to deal with it. And we are hoping that in the way we deal with it, other people can find some catharsis in it as well. Yeah? Thanks. Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, there's a lady over there. Can we give her a microphone? Don't worry, huh? Next performance will not start until we finish
Tell
over
us
here.
a little bit about the Happiness Project and what you do as part of the Papa CJ Happiness Project.
Okay, so I started doing something called the Papa CJ Happiness Project about 3 or 4 years ago. I get great joy from trying to uplift people in whatever way I can, whether it's through stand-up comedy, telling jokes, motivational speaking. So 3 years ago, I said for 2 weeks in a year, I will do free shows for any charity across the country. I remember the first time I did 7 shows in 6 cities. We raised about 45 lakhs for 10 different charities. The following year, I said that if you've got anybody in your house who has been ill for a long time, I will come to your home, I will come to your hospital room, and I will perform for you just for free. I've performed for 2 people in a hospital room. I have performed for 7 people in this lady's house. She was 80 plus, had a leg amputated, used to go for dialysis 3 times a week. And when I finished, I told her, I said, Auntie, this show is not for free. Every morning, I need to receive a laughing photograph of yours. 3 days later, her son sends me a message saying, boss, you have increased her lifespan. Now when I send you her photograph, she wants to look at it first to make sure she's looking nice. Right? So for me, these are some of the most gratifying shows that I get to do, and I keep trying to do whatever I can in that department. There's a lady there who had a question. Can we get a microphone to her there? Are we almost out of time? We'll come back to the lady here just to, yeah, sure.
Okay, so your name is Papa CJ.
Just keep the mic closer to your mouth, yeah. Only the microphone.
So your name is Papa CJ. So has anybody called you Papa in the sack?
Has anyone called me Papa in the sack? Okay. So I have been asked a question. This happened in Malaysia. I'm a single man, I can tell this story. This happened in Malaysia, and I was asked a question which I have been asked 1,000 times before, but never in this context. So we were in the bedroom, I'm making out with somebody. Can you, if there's kids here, can you just cover their eyes or whatever? I'm making out with somebody, we're doing it doggy style, the whole thing is happening, I'm doing the whole spanking thing, and she stops, and she says, I need to ask you a question. I'm like, okay, what is the question? She says, when I moan, should I call you Papa or should I call you CJ? I promise you, the comedian in me, I did not pause for half a second. I said, well, actually, I prefer if you called me Your Highness. So I have been asked that question before, and it's a cheap thrill, but who doesn't want somebody to say, oh, fuck me, Your Highness? Sorry, not appropriate too. Ears are closed. Somebody's clapping at that. Well done. You're going to use this, aren't you, sir? You will go home tonight like, baby, aaj mere ko Maharaja bulao. Yes, ma'am. How are we doing on time? We've got some time? Okay. Yes, ma'am, please.
No, sorry. I just thought this was a.
Just keep the microphone closer. I can't hear you.
I just thought this was a fortuitous time to ask you. I saw a clip of you on YouTube where Shashi.
You're going to have to keep the microphone much closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it loud enough?
Yeah. Can you guys hear the question? Okay. Yeah.
I just thought it's a fortuitous time to ask you this particular question. I saw you on YouTube releasing your book, Shashi Tharoor releasing your book. And I was a little intrigued at your extremely casual dressing of floaters and shorts. And I said, what is this guy wearing for an important occasion like this?
Okay, so let me respond to this. The highlight of every book promotion that I have ever done since this book has come out was this. I was doing the Kerala Literature Festival, which is on a beach. It's a beach festival, right? So I wore a full sleeve shirt with my sleeves rolled up, shorts, I mean a decent length of shorts, and slippers. So there was this photograph I posted online with this thing, and the reaction of one guy commented below this on Twitter. He said, "Bas, Bhagwan मेरे को ऐसा confidence दे कि इतने बड़े stage पे मैं चप्पल और नेकर पहन के जा सकूं." This was my highlight of my entire book promotion. But let's be honest, ma'am. Children, yes, I don't give a fuck. I am a comedian. This is a side gig, right? Between you and me, with all due respect, Vinita, I love the literature festivals, but a lot of it is intellectual masturbation. Okay, these guys get on and talk about shit that I don't understand. Right? The bits that I enjoy are real conversations where I have with them, but I don't really care that much. We were having fun, and the fact is that no matter what promotion you do, me wearing a suit is not going to make any difference, right? If you read the book and you like it, you will tell 5 friends that will make a difference. So at the end of the day, if it's a shit book, it's not going to sell. If it's a good book, it's going to sell. What I wear, I feel so objectified. You're judging me by what I wear. Shocking what this world has come to. Any more questions? There's the gentleman in the front. Piyush, you have a question? Can we give Piyush a microphone? We'll come back to the guys already. Respect, yeah. Buzurg, you know. Give him a microphone, yeah? Yes, sir. Screen adaptation, huh? Ready?
I want to know, how much do you charge for a show?
Sir, will you be paying cash or kind?
I'll pay you in CJs.
I don't think
I'll
you
call
can.
you a highness 200,000 times.
Well, then I'll explain that tonight. I'll explain that to you tonight in the hotel. I love the fact that he asked
It's
that
a
question
date.
sitting next to his wife. She's like, fuck off, highness ka bachcha. मैं तेरे को सिखाऊंगी. You actually want to know?
I want to know, man. Yeah.
It depends on what you want me to do.
When you go all the way. The works. When you give us the works, how much do you charge for the works?
See, some advice. I'm very nice and sweet and humble off stage. But if you're going to ask me this question, I'm going to have to walk up to your wife who's sitting next to you and ask her what you actually mean by the works. Because
I want to know what you mean by the works.
You might be saying, boss, this is itna bada gig hai, but she might be saying, fuck it, it's just 5 minutes, man, relax.
Nice.
No, so actually, Piyush, it depends on what I'm doing. Because I do stand-up comedy, I do hosting, I do motivational speaking, I do customized performances, I do personalized content, so it depends entirely on the gig.
For stand-up comedy.
It's so rude to ask somebody how much they're earning. Like, comedians get no respect, boss. I remember when I moved back to India also, I met this auntie and she said, "Beta, what do you do?" I said, "Auntie, I tell jokes, I'm a comedian." She said, "Beta, I also tell jokes." What do you do for a living? Right? And we get no respect. We get no respect at all. Today, Rahul Ram is performing over there. He will get off stage, somebody will say, "Dude," I mean, like, if I have a good gig, I will get off stage, somebody will say, "Dude, you are a rock star tonight." You try going to a rock star after a gig and saying, "Dude, you are a comedian tonight." Thappad milenge. So we can discuss that offline.
Okay.
But let me tell you this. I get paid a lot more as a comedian than I do as an author.
Check.
Sorry for all the aspiring authors. We're almost out of time. Last question for you.
So the papa means baby in down South India. But my question is, if you ever had a monkey and a dog, what would you name it? Quick.
If I ever had a monkey and a dog, what would I name it? I would name it Giant. You're welcome, Brian.
Oh.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Give us your I'm sorry.
30 seconds में खत्म कर लूँगा.
ठीक है.
Okay, so the book is not entirely shit. If you want me to sign a copy, I will be sitting over there, happy to take selfies with anyone, even though I think it is photographic masturbation. More than happy to do that. I want to just leave you guys with one message. You have heard me say this before if you've seen me perform. Be proud of being Indian, and anywhere in the world that you go, if anyone acts funny with you, tell them what I tell them. I come from the land of the Kama Sutra. I can fuck you in more ways than you can count. My name is Papa CJ. Thank you guys. God bless you all. Cheers.